right, what a fun way to begin an episode. So we are talking about Kamen Rider Kuuga, you and I, Tristan,
Ah, yes.
and this is TokuSake, your bottom shelf Tokusatsu podcast. And Tristan, what sake did you bring to this episode? We're talking about, by the way, the first two episodes. I should be specific of Kamen Rider Kuuga. What sake did you bring to this episode?
So I've got Hakusuru Superior Junmai Ginjo.
Interesting, and we'll talk about it a little bit later and how it tastes and whatnot. And I brought, by the way, I am Matt. I've been calling out your name. Like, I should say that I am Matt for those that are just listening in for the first time. I have Sho Chikubai Nigori Unfiltered Sake Silky Mild.
Oh.
Yes, this was extremely cheap. This was like $10.
I think mine was like 17, 18.
All right, Mr. High Roller.
I don't fuck around when it comes to my sake.
I do. I'm not the sake guy. You are.
You are the toku. I am the sake.
Exactly. And we come together like peanut butter and jelly.
We come together like a suit transformation.
Like Godai and the detective. I can't believe I continuously forget his name.
Ichijo.
Ichijo, thank you. Yes, Godai and Ichijo. Now, it's funny. I say I'm the Toku guy and I forgot his name. But either way, though,
being seared onto Godai's body, but I mean that works as a good comparison too.
Yeah, drinking the sake, it's seared into my chest. But either way, this is the hello everybody. This is the first episode of TokuSake. I am Matt. I'm here along with Tristan, the sake extraordinaire. He'd never call himself that, and he shouldn't, but I will, just to get that heat on him. So, now Tristan, you are not experienced in Tokusatsu whatsoever.
I mean, other than Godzilla, no, not really.
Right, that should be fair. Once you move out of the Henshin Heroes section, Tristan is a fan, if I put it mildly, of Godzilla. You know him well. I'll just put it that way.
Roars and King of Monsters.
Yeah. If the next stage of evolution in a film like Jurassic Park was becoming Godzilla, you would have taken that leap.
Yes.
Yes. It was shitty. It was shitty dinosaurs, so you were like, I don't know. But if it was Godzilla, you would have jumped right into that.
I mean, we're getting close. Jurassic World's kind of pushing that boundary, so you never know.
That's fair, but talking about Kuuga, so it's beautiful to have someone here who does not know anything about, not even just Toku, but like, because obviously, again, Henshin Heroes, you don't know much about, but when it comes to specifically Kuuga, this is my third or fourth time watching this first episode. I've only seen the series through about once. Not yet, definitely once, but when it comes to just watching this episode or these two, I've seen them multiple times, so I know the beats. There's little things here and there that I've forgotten, but I know the beats. But to see someone who doesn't know anything about this kind of have this wash over you, and did it kind of change your thoughts on Toku? Because I know, well, you didn't watch Power Rangers, you knew about it growing up, you've seen some random funny clips that I've shown you throughout the years, but you, and I think maybe we've seen a Kamen Rider movie or two, but the ones that were in the 90s. But when it comes to, I don't know which one I may have shown you, but when it comes to a show, you're usually like, nah, I don't want to really watch Kamen Rider or Super Sentai, which, that's fine. But I was like, oh, hey, let's drink some sake and maybe let's watch some Kuuga. And you were like, yeah, sure, why not? It's 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And so what are your thoughts? Has this changed your opinion on Toku, or?
I mean, I guess I wouldn't say it changed my opinion, but I really enjoyed what I watched.
All right, so, because it was obviously a bit, and I don't mean this to be edgy, but it was darker than some of the stuff you've seen throughout the years.
Yeah, that's true.
And you'll never guess when this aired, funnily enough. Well, I should mention, it aired on January 30th, or, yeah, it should be 30th, in the year 2000, so we're old. But
going in the way back when machine.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So it was in the year 2000. But Tristan, do you know when it aired? Like what time of day? You'll never guess.
Oh, I want to guess 8 or 9 o'clock, like
Correct.
p.m.
Incorrect. It
A.m.
aired on a Sunday at 8 a.m.
Oh, all right. Well, shit.
See, that's the most interesting thing about Kamen Rider is that it's something that usually can be enjoyed by those young and old. It's a show that it aired at 8 a.m. on a Sunday, so clearly kids are okay. It's okay if kids watch it; they're meant to watch it.
Mm.
But if you had watched this as a kid, you would have been fucking mortified.
Yeah, the spider and bat monster probably would have scared the ever living piss out of me as a child.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see why it's like it's not considered maybe like something more like adult. It's like, yeah, it's got a little blood, it's got a little bit of violence, but it's nothing like over the top.
See, but that's I think where, for me personally, where I have that sweet spot, where nothing wrong with a little gratuitous gore, if it fits within the story, if that's the story they're trying to tell, nothing wrong with some sex and whatnot. But I enjoy this fine line of okay, there is some brutality, there is a little bit of blood. Clearly, people are kicking each other's asses,
Right.
but it isn't it isn't like they're not talking down to children, which in turn
Right.
would be
Yeah.
talking down to me, and nor are they trying to act like they're better than having practical effects and funny wigs. Because I mean the main, from the look of it, the main creature, I don't want to say the creature's names, but the main, because at this point I don't think we know their names, but the main creature that you see with the huge wig in the tomb,
Yeah.
arguably it's silly, but it's not so silly when it's fucking murdering people.
And yeah, when it's shooting lightning at you and basically killing everyone in the room as they're pleading for their lives.
And it's interesting, you being the archaeologist you are, he's not an archaeologist, you being, you're a dinosaur bone digger.
Well, okay, see, that's the problem. I have become the stereotype that both of my occupations hate as the joke that's said about them. Um, I have a degree in anthropology. I've been on paleontological digs. So I am the archaeologist that digs up dinosaur bones.
Right.
Which
So
is
my question to you is, did the beginning of the first episode, did it hit close to home for you?
a little bit, yeah.
You're
Um,
sitting there, you're like, this could have been me in Ohio. It wasn't Ohio, it was Utah. Um, I
but
always
yeah,
get it wrong.
your statement is correct.
This could have been me.
It could have very well been me. It could possibly be me in the future.
We can only hope.
I still wait. What?
I mean, look, dude, how would you rather die? Like rocks falling or a monster impaling you?
I mean, one would definitely be faster than the other.
I mean, Ichijo said it,
Fair. Yeah, at least their death was quick.
which again was something that I did not expect. It's
Yeah.
always something fun.
He's not quite up on the uptake of, comforting.
I mean, that is comforting, but it's to me, I think that's comforting. But I love just how it's said, where again, like maybe I'm wrong here, but I was under the impression that you came into this like, yes, this is for children to consume, and therefore there will be a lot of flashiness. There will be a lot of like and there was flashiness, but there'd be like, here's where you buy the toy. Which, to be fair, I mean, Tokusatsu is always trying to sell you on merchandise in some way or another, but at least the Henshin Hero side. But it's just, I don't know, like I feel like that, like, did that line or other like what in the episode, if anything, in these two episodes, did anything catch you off guard? Like, should I be watching this? And you're 28 years old.
Not to that degree, but definitely the idea, like, when you say Tokusatsu, like, my mind goes immediately to, like, Power Rangers.
Right, because you're not actually familiar with Super Sentai.
Yeah, no. It's funny, I didn't really see all that much Power Rangers either, but I had a cousin who was really into it, so, like, he had, like, all the toys and everything, and I kind of, like, got it through him a
It's
little
funny,
bit.
yeah, because like you told me, I mentioned it earlier in the episode. Yeah, you weren't a Power Rangers person, but obviously it was so. Both of us being 28, it came out in '93, so we were 1 years old. So by the time we were like, I know I saw it when I was 2, but by the time we were like 5, it was still a huge
Yeah,
part of media. Not just the movie, but also just different seasons on TV, on Fox Kids, all that stuff. So that's how I got into Tokusatsu.
yeah,
For anyone listening into this for the first time, hasn't really seen some of our other, discussions of like Godzilla and whatnot over at those guys on the radio channel with Friday Night Movies. That's how I got into it. So, and Godzilla was something that I remember I saw the U.S. movie and I was like, this is Godzilla, huh? And I know, yeah, that was the first thing I ever saw. So,
and yet the animated series, that's that's actually a hidden gem.
yes, I've heard that, but when it comes to this show, I mean, I'm not saying you thought I was steering you wrong here,
Oh yeah, no,
but
definitely. But yeah, I think the moment that I realized that I was like, oh, this is going to be a little more, was when the spider monster was fighting the police, and the bullets just reflected, like bounced out of him, and then he punched the officers in the face, and I'm like, oh, is that blood? And then
yeah,
he put one through a windshield, and I'm like, oh, oh my.
yes. So, like I mentioned earlier, yes, this is made with children in mind, but it's very much like Doctor Who. It's a family show.
Right,
You
yeah,
have the, and this is just the way they pitched it. I'm not saying this is what it's supposed to be, but it's the way it was pitched. It was meant for the action and the fighting was for little boys watching, and then their moms who were sitting at home on a Sunday. Although it's a Sunday, so their dads should have been home too. But on a Sunday watching, that was all the pretty men were for them. Godai, Ichijo, very pretty men.
right.
That was for the moms watching. And that's just the way they tried to market it. Also, I think, speaking of marketing, you don't know this, Tristan. This was the first Kamen Rider, at least series, in I believe 11 years at the time. Because very much like Doctor Who, in the 80s, the show was canceled.
Yeah,
And there were
yeah,
Kamen Rider movies in the 90s. Again, you know about that. In Japan, not in the US.
yeah. Yeah, I definitely got that kind of Doctor Who parallel, especially with the first episode of this being called Revival.
Yes, very much, because it was literally. So, fun fact: this show was meant to end here. This was meant to be one of 3. Like there were some other shows they brought back around this time that were older Toku shows. Toei did this, that they were meant to be like, oh, fun little revivals, and then we'll all move on. However, this show, so it started, I believe, again, January 30th. I want to make sure I get this right. January 30th, 2000. And it's very weird to look back and be like, fuck, right, 2000. So yeah, so it started January 30th, 2000, and then it ended January, I believe, 31st, 2001.
Right.
So according to Arakawa, I believe Sho Arakawa, the producer, he said they wanted to stop it with Kuuga, but then what ended up happening after 9/11, he thought about it and he said, no, the world needs Kamen Rider.
Right.
And he pushed and went with the sequel, which is Kamen Rider Agito,
Right.
which came out a week after January 28th, 2001.
Nice.
But yeah, because it ended 21st, 2001. That's when Kuuga ended. So Black RX, however, it came out in 88. And it's really funny, Tristan. Black RX was adapted. You may have seen it at one point. It was Mass Rider. And it had like that little Furby named Furbus.
Oh no.
You've seen that, haven't you? I've sent it to you in a drunken
I
stupor once, probably.
I'm sure you have, and I'm sure I needed at least more than this bottle to get it out of my head again.
Right, most definitely. So, but Black RX is a sequel to Kamen Rider Black. Kamen Rider Black, an amazing series, followed up with a rather lackluster sequel. Very much the episodes 1, 2, and 3 of Kamen Rider, I would argue. And I'm sorry, Tristan. Tristan, I'm so sorry. Talking to the
Yeah.
Star Wars guy who loves Jar Jar Binks. I'm sorry.
Ouch. Well,
I apologize. No, but seriously though,
you made a comparison to the prequel. Ah, okay.
that's why I said this is the shitty sequel that is episodes 1, 2, and 3 of.
Yeah, see, that flew so far over my head because I don't associate those with being shitty. So, joke's on you. I didn't even get your insult. I'm just that stupid.
I don't like sand. I
Fuck you.
but when it but Black RX was odd because imagine having to be fair, it wasn't a prequel. That's the issue. It wasn't a prequel.
Right.
It was a sequel. So having a beautiful ending, everything being wrapped up nicely, tears were shed, and then next week it gets the GT treatment of being like, and there's more, and you're like, what?
So a lackluster sequel, you mean?
Yeah, very much like GT, arguably, Dragon Ball GT. So a lackluster sequel. People were not fans, and I think that was when they called it quits because it went on. The show went on from 71 until 89.
Right.
So they were like, let's just call it quits. So they ended it there. And then, obviously for people in Japan, I don't know how many US fans there were at the time because any US fans would have probably been people either trading fan subbed VHS tapes if there was a scene for that. I know there was for anime, not sure if there was for Tokusatsu at the time, as that being before my time. Or, Tristan, there were people who were actually living in Hawaii. And in Hawaii, they would get. It wasn't like they were getting foreign broadcasts, but they knew that a lot of Japanese people were in Hawaii, so they would bring over certain shows from Japan and subtitle them on TV.
Huh.
So there's a fair amount of Tokusatsu tapes going around. I know I have one tape of Kakaider that, even though there is an actual Generation Kakaider is a company that has released it on DVD, so I should probably pick that legal setup. It's a little expensive, but I should pick it up. But I know that I found on eBay once a tape of the Honolulu recording, like someone recorded it off their TV, put it to tape, and I have it from the 80s.
Nice.
So someone did that for Kakaider, Battle Fever J, which is another Super Sentai, one of the very early ones. And then this also happened with some Kamen Rider as well. Again, not sure which ones, but I know it happened with V3, but I don't know if it happened with, which is the second Kamen Rider show. I don't know if it happened with any others. But anyway, so for the most part, though, there weren't really US fans unless they were trading around what I assume to be raw tapes, if not fan subs. So, but in Japan, you move on with your life, just like with Doctor Who in the UK, or anyone who saw it. To be fair, Doctor Who was broadcast much more in the US on different in different states. But yeah, it's done. You move on, and then Kuuga comes out, and I have to say it's a very good show to start with. So I'm happy you started with Kuuga as like an actual, because I don't think I've ever shown you even a full episode of Kamen Rider.
I think we may have watched like one or two here and there, but yeah, it definitely felt like a good jumping off point for someone who hasn't seen it. Seen any Kamen Rider before. Like this was a decent starting point.
Yeah, we watched it through.
Jump in somewhere.
We watched it through Shout Factory, which is thankfully a legal source to watch it. And I don't know if you noticed it. For me, it was some of it was a little weird, some of the special effects, and the reason why is because this is not just because, of course, their time period came out in 2000, the special effects are, CG and whatnot, but it was actually remastered. So this isn't the original, what went out on VHS or DVD. This has been touched up a bit.
Right.
I believe, I don't know if they touched it up just for this release or if it was on Japanese Blu-ray and then brought over to this streaming service. But either way, though, what I'm really happy about is we saw it on Tubi TV. You could also see it on TokuShoutsu as well, is that it's legal toku, which is something that is very new, I would argue, at least compared to how long people have been in the fandom, how long I've been in the fandom, to have legal tokusatsu that you and I can watch and recommend to people. So that's actually really nice as well. The whole show is up for free with ads, but the whole show is up. That's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, I remember you talking about it when it got dropped, and you were like,
I was screeching.
Yeah,
I was I was the spider with the foot on Kuuga screaming into the wind.
And I was Kuuga.
You were
I was
Kuuga.
like, Matt, why?
I was extremely excited about it for obvious reasons, and so that was obviously a lot of fun. But no, I think it's just one of those shows that just through the dialogue, it really felt like they were trying to make these characters real people, and again, not just. Even though I have no problem with comedy, and yes, Godai is obviously so he's a little eccentric for comedic value, but he feels real though.
Right, yeah, he still feels personable and not just quirky for the sake of let's have these characters do quirky things to keep your attention.
He feels relatable, and I also enjoy, the first time we see him, he's donning a mask.
Yeah.
Somewhat. He's like, oh, this mask is meant to ward off evil spirits. It's from Indonesia, and of course his friend, the reporter, she's very much like, yeah, it's another weird thing. Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Also, can you not just climb up? And of course, there's, trying to do the old trope of like, is it really, who is this? And it's just Godai.
Yeah, I believe Sakuroka, I believe her name is.
Yes, you are Sakurako.
Yeah, Sakura. There we go.
Yeah. And so I just think it's always nice to, we have one skeptic, we have one cop who he isn't a skeptic, but he's a weird skeptic. He's like, look, clearly these things exist, but it's not like some big thing, you random weirdo cop that the one that's like reports into him.
Right.
So because you have the one cop that's like, it's a conspiracy, and he's like, whatever, man. These things exist, but it's not like there's like a bunch of them in the shadows. The next episode preview is like, there's a bunch of them in the shadows.
There might be a third. Nani?
And then there might be 7.
Oh.
Remember the next episode preview for 3 was like, are there 7 of them? And there were like these weird random people.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Also, we know they can take human form, which is wonderful. That's great for the nightmares.
Terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
I love how, like, just seeing the preview and then when they saw the Bat Dude in the church, I love how their tell seems to apparently be, you smell disgusting. It's like, is it because he's been hanging around the Bugman, or is it because he does not bathe often?
No, it's the human stench. They're not human.
Right, yeah.
And that's the age-old kind of like, not joke, but like trope. It's like, oh, humans, they smell awful.
Oh,
which we actually do.
I thought it was going to be like, you smell like you have Kamen Rider on you. Where the hell did you get that from?
Oh, I loved the 2 lines. I remember those horns being bigger, and let me show you how to punch.
Oh, God, yeah, no. When he transformed and started fighting him and his punches did nothing, I'm like, oh, y'all are fucked. Let me show you how to hit someone. That is never what you want to hear from your opponent who you just opened a can of whoop ass on.
You never want to hear that from any human being. Like,
let alone horrifying Bat Monster.
That's also a trope, by the way, Tristan. So usually it's Spider Monster and then Bat Monster.
Oh.
And what's hilarious is that initially, I don't. So they said it in Japanese initially, but I guess it must have been like Kumo Otoko, right? Which translates to Spider-Man.
Right.
They didn't mean Spider-Man, but literally it came off as Kamen Rider, the Japanese hero, defeats Spider-Man.
Right.
And then in the next episode, it was like, it was Batman. I don't know what bat is in Japanese, Bat Otoko.
Right.
And so it's Batman.
Right.
So literally in the first 2 episodes, arguably, you have Kamen Rider beating up 2 of
Spider-Man and Batman.
And that's from 1971. That's from the first ever Kamen Rider. So obviously to pay tribute to, an homage there, they have the first 2 monsters being not in suit design, but in style.
Yeah.
In having the web and everything.
Right.
You were a big fan of the helicopter scene.
Yeah. And I love the suits too, by the way. Like, the monster suits were well done.
Terrifying. It's a horror show, quite frankly.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that helicopter fight, I was like, I'm not sure what their budget was, but like, if this is for TV and like this is, and then you said, yeah, this came out in 2000. I'm like, damn, that's ambitious.
Yeah,
and I think they pulled it off well too.
They definitely pulled it off well. I really respect them for it. So any show, its first episode budget, I don't know how they pull off episode 2, but I know their first episode budget is higher than the entire series. And what ends up happening is the reason why it's higher and the reason why they have to use it all is because it's all allocated in the budget. So it's saying, hey, listen, we're going to give you more for episode 1. And what happens is, even though to be fair, they didn't know that they were going to be pulling off a second show at this time. But normally for their yearly Toku budget or yearly Rider budget, if they were like, oh, let's be conservative, let's not use the whole thing, we don't need the whole thing, then they go, well, I guess you don't need it for next year either. Because again, it's you use what you need.
Right.
So in general, when they give you a big budget for that first episode and they give you a lot of money, you take it and you use it.
Yeah.
And you can tell they did just that with the helicopter. And quite frankly, I love the way both Ichijo and Godai reacted to the spider when it's like, oh, good. Thank goodness it's off the helicopter. And then it just appears from the other side.
Thank goodness it's off the helicopter. Oh God, it's around my neck.
Yeah, no, it I
Don't
enjoy
worry, officer. I'll get that spider off your neck. Oh God, it's around my neck now.
pretty much. And I loved, just having Ichijo come in for the save. Again, he can't do anything, but he can do something.
Right, like even when yeah, no, it was the second episode.
Yes, with the
After he's
gunshot.
fighting both of them at the same time.
Yep.
After Ichijo's been on fire and got his ass handed to him, he comes over and shoots both of them to distract them for that 1 second, so Kuga can then punch them in the face and get him off him.
I thought they used a stunt actor, and they probably did, and maybe found a way to like superimpose his face or something, but it looked like they just lit him on fire. They were like, "Hey, bro, you're gonna get lit on fire," and he was like, "Dope." And they
Sweet.
just, yeah, no, because he was just lying there on fire. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Again, that's what I love so much about practical effects, and I'm not going to rant about CGI for that long. I'll do it for a bit. The CG in the show is what is not limiting to it as a whole, but limiting to it now 20 years later, where you see some of the CG and you're like, oh, it was 2000. But the suits, unless you're not interested in suits, which is fair, but if you are, they don't quote unquote age.
Yeah.
You see that and you're like, oh, I'm traumatized. I mean, that spider monster just going around, or the bat in the burning church. By the way, just, you were mentioning, you've said over and over set pieces, but oh my god, a bat in a burning church with a man realizing it is his time to fight and he has reached his, at least at this point, his true potential, what he believes to be his true potential, to protect people, and the pose, and I'm Kuga and everything. It's just beautiful. It looks so good.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
stunning, and it's one of those things that again, it doesn't age. Why? They used real fire. I'm sure some of that is CG, but for the most part, they were like, "Hey, you want to burn down a church? All right, cool." I assume it's a set. Wait,
Oh
no.
yeah, no, but yeah, like detail put into it. I think my favorite one so far was I guess it was an abandoned factory. I guess when he's fighting both the spider and bat at the same time,
Yes, yes.
and just like all
Obviously,
the railing and piping, like I was like, holy shit, this is a really cool like fight piece.
it's really complex that he's trying to deal with both of these at the same time, and then that's
Yeah,
when,
and
like you mentioned,
also having a complex environment to have to fight them in too.
yep, and then Ichijo coming in with the save again. Can
Yeah,
he, even with a shotgun, can he destroy them? No, this isn't Dead or Alive. He
yeah,
cannot, or House of the Dead. He cannot do this.
yeah.
But
I think he had a rifle.
he had a rifle. But again, it's like you can't get the job. Well, he initially had a rifle, then he had just a normal. He had a
Yeah,
handgun
he can't.
later.
Yeah, his pistol.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah, that was the other thing. Because I know, like, I know generally, at least, like, Japanese police force, like, yeah, they're usually just pistols. But the fact, like, Ichijo came in, like, rifle ready when he walked into the church, I'm like, oh, he ain't fucking around. And, like, granted, yeah, he saw the spider monster firsthand, so, like, no, he wouldn't. But I was like, damn.
you know how he probably got that? There was a
Oh,
problem with.
so much paperwork.
Oh no, there was a problem with bears in the area.
Oh,
Allegedly.
yeah.
Allegedly, it was really the
That's
monster,
true,
but
too.
they thought it was bears, so they
Yeah,
probably have those guns for bears. And
right.
he was like, "Oh, you found a big bear? Sure."
Yes, let's go with that.
Did you
I will
see it?
finish the paperwork later.
Did you see it first? What do you mean? Well, you've clearly pissed yourself. Yeah, I'm just thinking about that bear.
I have a photograph of it. Sir, this doesn't look like a bear. Oh,
It's
that's your first question?
it's just the giant bat monster flipping
Yeah,
him off.
this doesn't look like a bear, sir. Oh, that's your comment?
Also, just the lighting choices and everything. Just
Oh, yeah.
hi. I just want to make sure you're okay. I'm fine, you motherfucker. Ah, light. Oh, interesting. That's clearly a plot point.
You smell awful. Thanks, Father. I'll be
I
going
I
now.
love that too. By the way, it's the father. It's just of the church. Just oh, thanks,
Yeah.
father. All right, dope. See ya.
You stink like Satan. I'm pretty sure that's you, but, whatever.
And I love the whole. It just wakes up because we see her working on a paper because she's a student there, and all of a sudden we have Godai wake up in a fucking restaurant or like a whatever it was called Eddie's Diner, I think.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You've been asleep for 11 hours." And he's like, "Whoa. All right, anyway, can I get some food?" And immediately just starts eating.
Right.
Like he's been asleep arguably on that one little like area for 11 hours and he's like, "Dope. I need some curry rice."
Yeah.
That was, just to me that was very funny. And again, just overall the character of Godai, the heart that he has.
Yeah.
I think that's what, in my opinion, draws you into the character. Because I've known you for such a long time, Tristan. I'm like, you're gonna like Godai.
Yeah, and like I liked him at first because yeah, he did have that kind of quirky air to him, and I was like, okay, you're fun. But I think what especially won me over is that he actually, I seemingly he does have some kind of martial arts training.
Well, he
Um,
traveled around the world. He mentioned he was
right?
like, "I make dreams come true." That's your profession.
Yeah,
Yes,
I was like,
sir. Can we get him the fuck
what?
out of here? I love the way he said he's
Escort him
like,
to the squad car. Ah,
and then he. By the way, so Tristan, I've known again, like I said, I've known you for a long time. Did you think that he was serious when he pointed at something?
oh no, I knew. Look over there. What is that? Oh my god.
And then
The
he,
fact that he ran for it and Ichijo just trips him and then catches him by the neck. He's like, take him out of here. I
smooth
was like,
moves.
yeah, nice catch.
And then what I love is that
uh,
he literally was like, "I'm going to arrest the shit out of you." He's like, "All right,
yeah.
I'm out, I'm out, I'm out,
Okay,
I'm out."
I'll go. I'll go. Yeah,
But
no, their banter and dialogue is fucking beautiful.
yeah,
Um, oh, but what? Oh, yeah, when Godai especially sees the family outside the funeral hall for the
mm,
professor that she was working with on the dig. Um, and you could argue that his big hero speech of "I don't want to see anyone cry anymore" is, a little campy, but like
I
just
don't give a flying fork. It
no, right?
is
Yeah, exactly.
I will
I don't either
I
really.
will die on that hill,
But the
and damn it,
idea when oh yeah in the restaurant when she's telling him when he says I don't know if I could ever get used to the feeling and she's like what do you mean and he's always like clenching his fist. It's like I've been holding back this entire time. Like, yeah, I know how to throw some moves, but like I don't want to have to use it.
that's the
And
interesting. Yeah, no, that's the
yeah, the
beautiful thing about his journey in this episode. I don't want to hurt people. Hold on, I am protecting.
right, it's a difference.
I'm not using this strength, and yes, it is strength. So that question can come up. Is if strength is trying to be used to protect, could it end up hurting?
Yeah,
Potentially. But as of right now, it is still a starting point you have to take. You can't say,
right.
well, if it could potentially hurt, then I guess I should never use it.
Yeah. Because I mean, Ichijo even says to him, like, "You have no idea what that power could do to you. Like, you need go get a medical examination immediately."
And by the way, he has a fair point. I mean, that monster. I know it looked very funny in CG, but it literally exploded with
Oh
the
yeah,
mark of Kuuga.
right. Yeah, that was dope too. I'm like, wait, did he just leave his mark on him with his foot, and
Yeah,
that made him
well,
explode?
because it's a rider kick, and usually they're
Right.
much quicker in the explosions. But in this case, he realized it. He was like, "Damn you, Kuuga!" And I'm like, "Oh fuck!" So, and you saw even his foot was like
Yeah.
hot.
Yeah.
So, that's not something to take
Yep.
lightly. But
Yeah.
at the
That's
same,
the finishing move.
yeah, but at the same time, it's also very much like you have to stand up for yourself, and you also have to take this seriously. And I think that was a beautiful thing to have Ichigo come at him for and say, "Listen, not just the standard old, oh, we're cops, listen to us
Yeah.
because we're
You're a
cops." That's
civilian.
something
You're a civilian. You know.
that's something we've heard time and time again. That's not new. But what I think is maybe not so much new, but a very harsh point that needs to be made sometimes with heroes that are a bit more wacky is, are you taking this seriously, or are you going to be some little funny guy who juggles, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it was at that moment when he saw her crying for her dead dad, he was like, I can't just let this slide. I
Yeah, and
have to.
I can't half-ass this. Like, I need to give it my all.
And when he put his all into it, he, red hot burning rage, he becomes Kuuga.
Right.
the Kuuga that was envisioned when the oddly Egyptian. I'm not saying it is Egyptian, but it's clearly evoking that Egyptian mythology.
Yeah, with mummies and everything.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's not Egyptian, but it's definitely evoking that mythology.
right.
What I find
Well,
interesting, what we
I
gonna say?
think they even joked about how they, when they found the site and they were digging it up, they're like, something like this in Japan.
Mm-hmm. My favorite is the guy being like, "What does it say? Something? Does it say if we touch it, we die?" Well, we already touched it, so how about you stop making jokes, you dick?
Right. That was the clip that you showed me previously, and I'm like, I remember this shit.
Oh,
It's
I
just
showed
as
you a
fucking
picture.
funny.
I think it was a tweet from the TokuShoutsu account. I think.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so that was obviously very funny, and then of course they all end up dying, which is not funny. But what I do enjoy though, when you look at the footage, I don't want to be an old man here and be like back in my day, but I do want to say though that having that footage be on a shittier camcorder made it much scarier than if it was on an iPhone.
Oh yeah,
Even if it was like, oh no, but they're static for some reason, so the iPhone's going haywire. It's like I don't know, just something about it being on an old camcorder, very much like The Ring or The Grudge. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Which, funnily enough, you and I talked about The Ring on Friday Night Movies a while back, but it's
We did.
important because that came out in '99.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not that far off from this, funnily
Wow.
enough. So Japan gets
Yeah.
horror right.
Yeah, I think those two pieces, when Ichijo's like, you need to take this seriously or stop getting in the way, like that piece of dialogue, and then when Godai is actually uh, when he does his suit transformation and he's red, the armor's red, um, and he actually delivers those hard strikes to the Bat Monster. I was like, yes,
The soundtrack is also amazing.
yeah,
I think it really, it's one of those things that evokes again this red-blooded, this hot-blooded feeling in you.
right,
You really want to just jam out, but not in a way that's like metal. That you're like you don't want to headbang. You're like no, it like I could work out to that music.
right,
You know
yeah,
what I mean? You put that on, you get faster on the treadmill.
yeah,
It's that kind of music. But and some people would say that's metal, but for me, it's like I don't want to get on metal. I feel like I just will burst through the treadmill. I don't get faster. I just go through the HUD in front of
and
me,
then I will rip it in half.
and then I'll go through the actual fucking window
Right.
in front of me. The wall that's in front of me. I'll go right through that. By the way, I loved how they did something that you could sit back and think about it and go, oh, that's so simple. But the way they did it was actually really cool. How you have Godai being like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna push because I don't know how to punch you hard yet. I'm gonna push this truck into you. The monster's like, bruh, it's just a truck, but it went through the wall.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, it's just a truck. What do you think? And he pushes it back.
All you got? Uh-oh.
And what I find funny about it, what I love about it, is the fact that, it's clearly just somebody driving the truck, but they film it in such a way, and they even had the guy's head down. Whoever was driving the truck, they had to have them down because you didn't see their head in the shot, even now,
Right.
years later. But it's just so funny to know. Like, you're like, well, clearly someone's driving the truck, but it's done in such a way where you're just, like, you're really drawn into it. It didn't have to be some fake truck,
Right, yeah.
It didn't have to be sliced in half. Nothing wrong with that, but it's just somebody is just hitting reverse, and then it's going back,
Right.
and it really legitimately makes you look at it and be like, oh yeah, no, like Godai is pushing the truck. By the way, I want to mention that his name, just for you, Tristan, a huge fan of Yu Yu Hakusho, his name is Yusuke Godai.
Well, shit.
Yeah, right. Two favorite characters named Yusuke. Something else I want to mention as well before we get on to our sake over here is, we were talking about the soundtrack. How did it feel as someone who's normally an anime guy? And we both are, but you are more so, obviously, in this case. How do you feel as an anime guy seeing openings and endings in this show? Did you feel a little off? Did you feel like they fit? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I thought it fit.
I think that it's very much a great way to get you pumped up, very much like an anime opening. It very much gets you
right.
pumped up. And then what I do like is that the ending, at least in this case, it's not cute, but it calms you down.
Yeah, it's relaxing. It's
Well, because
peaceful.
because sometimes it's weird because like sometimes in anime it's just like, can we truly be the ones to decide what is war? And then it's like dance, dance, doopy doopy doop doop, da da
Yeah,
da dance, and I'm like, are we fucking serious here? In this
yeah,
case, I enjoy that it's very much like something. A huge crescendo happens either with the action or with the music. You have Godai just giving a thumbs up or something, and
right.
then we immediately have this calming, chill ending to let it breathe, let it sit, very
Right.
much like this sake over here.
Yeah, that
But
was that was a real nice roundabout that you did there.
yes, it was. Thank you. Which one did you prefer, opening or ending? I go for opening
Uh, mm, I don't know. I don't know if I could really pick.
because they're so
Bet-
drastically different.
yeah, because they're different, but I feel like both serves their purpose. Like you said, like the opening hypes you up for the episode to come, and the ending calms you down after the action has subsided.
Yeah. So we'll talk a bit more about the episode first. Let's move on to the sake. So Tristan, you start off first. What sake do you have? As I'm cleaning up some sake that I just spilled
Oh my god, you
twice already. Yes, I know. I've been drinking a bit too much. Although for me,
alcohol
that's not
abuse.
a lot. For me, it's not a lot actually. I'm a lightweight. But go on, Tristan.
You lick that up off the floor right now.
No, 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 no. Don't you worry. First of all, that was very erotic. It was on a desk. So I'm cleaning it off a desk, not with my own lips, but with a napkin. For the last time I spilled sake, 30
Whew.
minutes ago.
Oh god. So my sake, Hakutsuru. It's actually a pretty good selling brand. And I believe Hakusuru is White Crane.
Okay.
It's actually kind of hilarious. When I started getting my own bottles of sake, I would look for the crane symbol because I knew that's what my parents would get. So I'm like, that's a good brand. I'm gonna go for that one. And I realized that I was spot on. I the logo was memorable enough that I was like, yes, this is the one that I will purchase. um, but yeah, so it's a good selling brand, and the brew that I have, Junmai Ginjo, is it's very light bodied, and it's a drier sake. And I'm kind of on the side of having something lighter in taste. The flavors are subtle, um, and it's usually I looked up a little bit about it, but
As did
pairings
I
for
about
it.
mine, so that's fine.
There you go. Pairings for it are usually good with like salty dishes or snacks, usually like tempuras or sushi, sashimi, different fish dishes too.
Damn it, now I
Um,
want that.
yeah, right.
Oh,
Which is funny
Jesus.
because I got a bottle of this just recently. I think it was for my mother's birthday, and we had sushi that night. So
Oh,
it
that
actually,
sucks.
the flavors actually do meld together very nicely.
It doesn't suck for you. That sounds great for you. That sucks for me. It's 1:30 in the morning, and but here's the thing. So mine is the. By the way, yours was, you said 17 to me privately, or did you say that earlier in the episode? I'm not sure which.
No, yeah, I said that earlier on too.
Okay, so yours was 17. I got, let's see right here. Shochikubai Nigori Unfiltered Sake Silky Mild. Silky Mild is my college nickname. So when, what? So
I don't even know, but
I don't
you
even
said it with
know.
such confidence. I was like, all right.
Anyway, so I've had a bit too much. So it's, for as far as I'm concerned, I could serve this warm. However, it says not recommended on the back here. I went for
Oh,
room
right.
temperature.
Mine's also to be best enjoyed as chilled or at room temperature.
Okay, so then yeah, you went for room temperature. I imagine since we've been here for so long, you don't have a, and it's also very hot out, so you definitely do not have a small little mini fridge or anything. So you went for room temperature. I did as well. I could have went for chilled, but I was like, nah, we're gonna be out here anyway.
Right. Yeah.
So because it could go for chilled, excellent. It could go on the rocks and cocktail. I again went for room temperature. It feels. I taste like this like peach. Also, is recommended that you shake this to make sure that you don't you don't end up because there's rice at the bottom, so you want to make sure that you get some of that wonderful ricey taste. So looking at this here,
Right.
I'm clearly the sake guy too now. I've done very little research, and clearly I know so much. But what I do know, that was facetious, Tristan. I don't know much. What I do know is that it says here that nigori is the way sake first appeared when it was brewed for the imperial court in Kyoto, as well as for most of its 2,000-year history. It is
Oh, damn,
coarsely
look at you.
filtered. Yeah, I know. And mine was $10, so I don't know. It is coarsely filtered and the sweetest of all of our types of sake. It is especially delicious with very spicy foods. Again, I don't even have those around here. The bottle should be shaken each time before pouring due to the high rice content that settles in the bottom of the bottle. So, yeah, I'm loving it. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Oh my god. How dare you?
So, yeah, I really do like it. It looks odd. Like it looks because the thing is just looking at it, I have to be real with you because of the rice content, it looks kind of like wax when you just kind of leave it in a shot glass. You're a little concerned.
Right, yeah.
But drinking it, I really do like the taste. It leaves what I consider to be a good aftertaste. There is an aftertaste, but I don't find it to be harsh.
Right.
Like, depending on how you're drinking it, yes, it can burn your chest a little bit. So that's why it's funny this is paired with spicy foods. I'm like, well, maybe you won't recognize one without the other. With both of them together, you're like, what's burning my chest? It turns out to be both. But I am used to it now after drinking almost half the bottle. Oh,
You
by the
don't
way,
say.
by the way, Tristan, I should mention, I don't have any spicy foods to pair with this sake. But what I did do was I was able to pair this pair of sake with the same pair of sake. So I have two shot glasses that I've been drinking throughout this entire episode, and I fill up both. And then when I'm done with both, I'm like, "Hey, it's a party!" And then I've been filling it up both up with more. That's
There
why I
you
keep on
go.
spilling it. I think because I have two to. I'm not just alternating between both like a madman. I'm pouring one out and then the other. But I do think that maybe that's what's causing, the a little bit of spillage.
Oh, my shot glass as
Yes, yes,
well.
yes.
A friend of mine actually got me a gift. They are Dragon Ball Super shot glasses.
Hey,
It was a 4 set. So there's Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta. There's Future Trunks and Goku Black.
wait, is
And
this
of
someone
course,
who's been on our Those Guys Play channel or no?
I believe it was Anthony. Yes, Anthony.
Oh, Anthony. Yeah, Anthony. Not only Those Guys Play, also on Those Guys on the Radio as well. He filled in for you when you were in Utah. He and I talked about Avatar.
Right.
This was years back when Avatar was coming to Netflix. It's still apparently coming, I guess, but this was when it was like first announced.
Right.
I don't. Oh, he and I have also done The Grudge, of course. You and I took The Ring. He and I took The Grudge, and I feel so bad for that man because I know you think that The Ring has taken a bit of a turn, and we've reviewed all these on our Those Guys on the Radio, but Tristan, The Grudge took a really like an even worse turn.
Yeah. Yeah. He. We swapped experiences of watching horror movies with you, Matt.
I, is it a support group? Is that what this is?
I'm starting to think it might be. I haven't personally talked much to many of the other co-hosts, but me and Anthony have definitely come together to vent our feelings about certain things that you've had us watch.
Look, listen, okay? Vampires is the peak of animated live action cinema.
See, I wasn't gonna. Okay, one, I'm going to vomit, and two, I wasn't gonna bring that one up because I didn't want to out you that hard. But
I mean, look, I did a podcast on it with Anthony, I believe 3 years ago on Halloween in July. So
the things you do for Halloween in July, my God, man.
I love Halloween in July. It just passed, and I feel like it's coming up just next month. So I anything anything else you want to say about this episode? Because I feel like we can go on all day talking about the practical effects, the chemistry between these characters, just the real oddly grounded feeling in all of the spandex and all of
Yeah,
the prosthetics.
yeah, it's odd, like considering he's a suit fighter, and there are these just monsters popping up.
That are thousands of years old that have been sealed in a tomb for some reason.
Oddly felt like, no, this is what the world is right now.
And
It's cohesive.
not even a 2020 feeling, just
Oh, yeah,
genuinely like a this is real.
right.
Yeah.
I really appreciated that, and the effects too. I think the biggest thing for me, like I love, we've talked about it before in various different podcasts, but I love practical effects.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and I
You were
know,
made for Toku. It's so
yeah,
funny that you haven't seen enough of it. Like you've like Toku was made with Tristan. There's a reason why the first letter is T. It was made with Tristan in mind years before your birth.
but I do like the like obviously there were some CG things here and there, but
Hmm.
it like things with big budget CG movies nowadays, like it looks beautiful. Don't get me wrong, like everything looks amazing, but there's just that sense that it's so fantastical and so detailed, like everything is so detailed that it you lose that sense that it's actually that it's real at all. Like
Yeah, and
it's like obviously,
it's
like, don't get me wrong, this looks amazing and it took a lot of work to do this, but I know it ain't there. Like at least with the practical effects and with a bit of mixing of CG, yes, it definitely doesn't look as fantastical. Like it'll look silly at times even. But I'm already watching a series of, like I just said, suit combat and monster people fighting each other. My suspension of disbelief is already in that realm. So like adding a
yeah.
little bit of CG here and there to do sort of cool effects, but still having the people there just really clicks for me. I don't know if that really makes sense,
It
but
makes so much sense, and people who you've never met across the world listening to this are like, he gets it. He's one of us. Um,
why not?
it's it's one of those things where we've talked about them before in other avenues with Friday night movies. I don't have a problem talking with them again, at least maybe not soon, but eventually, because they're Toku as well. But the two new Godzilla films, King Kong as well, I would even argue, Skull Island, and also looking at the two Pacific Rim films. Oh no, how much sake? But I like them both. I like them all, but there is a certain disconnect when it's all a video game that you aren't even controlling.
Yeah,
There is a certain disconnect. You love the lizard guy. I like my robots, pew pews. They're all great. But, and Kong's like, what, you don't like me, you dicks? No, we love you too, bro. Come on in the group hug.
my second banana to you? How dare you even insinuate that?
Second banana, that sounds like an animated Donkey Kong show joke.
Yeah, right.
Oh god, wow, that just came back to me like a repressed memory. Remember that show? The
Sorry.
Donkey Kong animated show, the one that was like CG.
I was this many years old when I found out.
Wait, you didn't know there was a CG like 1990s 2000 around the N64 game animated Donkey Kong show?
I don't believe so, and if I did, I must have repressed the hell out of that.
You too, maybe. Anyway, so but no, but seriously though, when it comes to these newer films, nothing against them, of course, but there's a reason why on our Toku station, the podcast that I do talking about Toku news, I'm gushing over Howl from Beyond the Fog.
Right, yeah.
I
I saw
showed
that
you.
video.
I showed you yeah, you saw the video. Thank you so much. And I think you saw that video because you saw the thumbnail, which was literally the text and then the screenshot. I think it might have been an actual like poster, and you were like, "What?"
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
were like, "I don't click on Matt's videos often, which is not a problem. It's just that you don't have the time to. You're a very busy man, so you don't click on them often." But you were like, I'm clicking on this one. What the fuck is he talking about?" And so you clicked on it, and then I sent you the links, and you were like, the trailers. You were like, "Sir, I already saw them, bro." I was like, "What?" You were like, "I saw the video." I was like, "Oh man, thank you."
So, so when are we watching this? Oh man, I don't know.
I have to get it on VHS or Blu-ray first. It's
Right.
not out
Yeah.
yet. But when it comes to a movie like that, using suitmation and even puppetry, which is something that I'm not always the biggest fan of, still it feels very real,
Yeah,
and that's what I
like stuff
love.
like that, especially puppetry, when it's done right and really well, it's really amazing.
Yeah, and so looking at Kuga, it's just again all these suits are right there. They're in front of you. Again, whatever you feel about them, if it's not your jam, that's totally cool, but they still are real. There is no, oh, we need to update this in 10, 15, 20 years from now. No, it's right here and it's staring at you and it's fucking creepy as hell. When you have that bat on top of a church, flying down to suck some lady's blood at night with all those filters on, and also I assume because they didn't have the right lighting, it also just looked bad for that reason alone. It was just creepy.
Yeah.
There's no other word for it other than ooh. Well then that's what Kamen Rider is. It's a little scary. It's a little bit monster punching. I mean, they
Half
even
horror, half monster punching.
they even mentioned karate, bugmen, monster punching horror.
There you go.
That's a weird genre, but that's what this is. And they even mentioned in that little, she was reading the actual news reports, and it was like not just cows, kids are missing. That thing fucking killed children.
Oh yeah.
Just a random one-off, of course, but it's still like Jesus H Christ.
Yeah, like how. I mean, the actual father's body is rotting behind the podium too. So it's like, oh, you've been here for a few days at least. Holy crap!
Yeah, the town drunk is the one that survived because he was. It was like 6 a.m. So the fucking sun comes up.
Yeah, the sun came up.
I love it. He's just like, you believe me.
Yeah, I just love. It's like, alcohol saved me again.
I mean, if he didn't get drunk and he left hours earlier, yeah, he would have been killed.
Right.
So one more thing I want to mention before we wrap this up. I'm saying this assuming that we won't do any more Kuuga. Again, unless you, like, in your spare time, you're like, Matt, I watched all of Kuuga. And then I'm like,
one night.
And then I'm
That's
like,
not possible. I know.
It probably is. Not in one night, but in one day, maybe. They're 20 minutes a pop and there's 50 episodes. You could swing it. It just wouldn't be a good time.
Painful, but yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so what I'm getting at here is that, assuming we never talk about this again, I want to talk about the monster's language. So you may have noticed, you may not have noticed, it might have been harder to hear. They were not speaking in Japanese. So...
Right, yeah, there definitely was an odd, like... I want to say like an echo filter or something to it.
Well, it wasn't just the filter. So some lines they do speak in Japanese. Some lines they speak in a made-up language that they made up just for them, where they take the end of a sentence and put it in the beginning. And so what happened was when the show was airing in Japan, people were trying to decipher their language while it aired.
Right, wow. Oh,
and,
so Pig Latin?
Well, it was interesting. Basically, again, they took the end of either sentences or words and they put them in the beginning, which doesn't sound that cool in English, but in Japanese,
right,
that there's a lot to decode there with what it could mean, what it could really mean, the meaning of this word, that word.
Right, yeah,
there's a lot of different meanings in Japanese, different words depending on how they're moved around and whatnot. So
true.
What's interesting is they didn't just do that, but when the show came out on DVD, because they subbed it in their language, but like obviously again people don't know what it means, but when it came out on DVD they actually had a booklet with all of their stuff translated into Japanese.
Oh wow.
So like hey, this is what we originally wrote them to say early on.
Right.
So basically if you're watching the show for the first time and you're watching it either before it was on Shout Factory or you're watching it, when it initially aired in some way or another, and somehow you have subtitles for the Japanese parts, you didn't know what the Grongi were saying.
Right.
So all you hear was like, Baba Dibi Da, Kuuga. And he's like, oh, wait, I'm Kuuga. So Godai, I believe, does not understand what they are saying. Neither do the other characters when they randomly say shit in their language. But...
that's an extra creepy factor.
Exactly. However, Shout Factory, and in my opinion, I agree with them here, it would be nice if they had a way to toggle it off, but at the same time, if you're watching the show for the first time and you don't know that context,
right,
it would be a little weird to have it be in, bibble dee boo language,
Yeah.
and then to be fair, there is a shift in the show where they do start speaking in Japanese. But again, if you can hear, then you can hear that like this isn't Japanese. Like if you've watched enough stuff, you're like, huh, this is not Japanese, but it's
Right.
translated, but it's not Japanese.
Yeah.
And they even had a filter on the actual subtitle, I think, to also maybe indicate something is different here than the rest. I believe it was black and white
Right. Yeah.
compared to the rest of the show of the characters in the show.
Right.
Again, there was a little bit of controversy around that. Some people were saying, hey, why couldn't you just not translate it for the first part of the show? But I think it's one of those things where since Toei in their DVDs did put an English translation, we're okay with the English translation now. Like, like it would be nice if it was like if there was a DVD copy, which maybe will come out one day, but as of right now it's only streaming only in the US and I believe Canada. But if they come out with a DVD one day, I would like multiple subtracks. But to get this right in the US, I feel like it's like, yeah, subtitle it, translate it so that someone like Tristan is not like, well, what did they say? And you're not lost
Right.
for those 2 episodes. Because again, in those 2 episodes, maybe minus one line, the monsters are not speaking Japanese.
Yeah.
So they would have just not translated it. It either would have been left unsubbed or would have been subbed in their weird, language. And you'd be like, this is odd.
Right.
So again, it's something that when it's a fan thing, fans could gush about it and talk about it. But to be on a legal streaming service, I feel like it's a little like I'm okay with their decision.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they made the right decision too.
Even though I think artistically, yes, I do enjoy it being,
Oh, yeah.
oh,
Right.
giri, bidi baba. Like literally, like they maybe in some cases they sound more like Sims than others, but I do enjoy them, especially later on when they're talking to each other. But to have that happen on a streaming service, I feel like some people may tune out. But on a DVD or Blu-ray, I would want multiple subtracks.
Right.
So that I could be like, oh, let's experience this in the original, monster. I'm not, for some of you who are fans of Kuuga, I'm not saying the name of the monster for those who have not seen past 2 episodes, and for Tristan's sake. But they will be revealed if you keep on watching Tristan, and my god, are they brutal.
Well, call me incentivized.
Don't threaten me with a good time, Matt. So
I mean, you already have.
Fair. Either way, we have reached the end of this episode, but not the end of my bottle. So I'm gonna have a lot of fun after the episode.
Me too.
Would you recommend your bottle of sake, Tristan?
Yes, I would definitely recommend this.
I would definitely recommend this as well. Again, it's something that it's something you should probably eat with something. I would argue, as someone who's drank some of this, definitely eat some stuff with it. But I think it's it's very chill. Again, very much like not chilled, but it's very calm, relaxing. Very much like the ending of the episodes, the ending theme. But it really is, though. I feel much more relaxed while drinking it. Not even after the fact, just while drinking it. I would recommend it. So again, mine is Sho Chikubai Nigori Unfiltered Sake, Silky Mild.
Yeah, that's also something I like about sake. At least most of the sake that I've had is usually a very smooth, light taste. No harsh aftertaste or anything like that. Smooth going down. And that's something I really enjoy about sake.
Yes, and same here as well. An aftertaste, but nothing too harsh. Very smooth going down. And before we wrap this one up, I want to mention to all of you, this is our monthly podcast. So tune in next month when we do something even spookier. If you thought this was spooky, October is definitely going to be spooky. You can find us on our Those Guys on the Radio YouTube channel, on our TokuDragon, specifically about Toku YouTube channel, and also our Podbean, which is Those Guys on the Radio. So this has been a lot of fun, Tristan. Would love to have you on to do another TokuSake episode, because again, you're the sake guy, so we kind of need you here.
I will reappear with a different bottle.
Whoa!
Yes.
You transform? Did the bottle transform?
It was white first, but now it's red.
If your sake is red, I feel like I'm not the sake guy here. I don't know if there should be white going to red sake. I feel like that is a problem.
It's red as the blood moon.
So, love you all. Take care. And again, tune in next month. Follow us on our different socials. We'll be in the script box down below to catch more episodes of TokuSake. All right, everybody. So, see ya.
Have a good night.